skipper's done it. Beautiful chapter it is for the Bombers.
G'day Essendon fans, welcome to the Friday footy panel. We're here at the Colonial Brewing Company, 89 Birdie Street, Port Melbourne. Get down here and check it out, some fantastic brews. I've got the Colonial Draft. These will be on sale at the Country game on Saturday night at the MCG between Essendon and Geelong. Get down to that too. We've got a very special guest to talk about that shortly. But first, I'm replacing Julian De Stoop, by the way. He's on a Chinese expedition. Yeah. Welcome, Scotty Lucas.
Welcome, Rowan.
Yeah.
A great start by you.
Abdication of duty by Jules, I reckon.
Yeah, and I was a bit disappointed that he flew the coop to head over to China to get caught up in the smog. But anyway.
I think he didn't want to tackle the hard topics because it's been a tough couple of weeks for the Bombers, hasn't it?
Yeah, look, it has. After a really good performance Anzac Day, disappointing against Melbourne and also Freo. But in saying that, I thought they played some of their best football for the year in the first half against Freo. I thought, particularly after the skill level against Melbourne, to see them move the ball so well early in that game against Freo, I think would give them a lot of confidence with how they're going about it. They just weren't able to sustain it. And we just saw, I think, Rowan, the importance of depth of midfield, and that's one area that the Bombers have to continue to work on, adding younger players or middle-aged players, whatever that might be, through the middle of the ground to provide more run as the game goes on.
I've got to say, when you looked at the 10 players returning from the year's break, 7 of them mids, you looked at that and you thought, gee, they've got some midfield depth now, but the midfield's still an issue, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think that's the one area of the ground, that Essendon would look at and want to improve. I think when players come back, it was always an interesting discussion point, and they were never too sure how they would come back.
Yeah.
With that, I think the game changes a lot over 12 to 18 months, which is the time the players have been out of the game. Some had injuries late in that year, so it's a couple of years since they've played, and I think they've found it a bit more difficult. But as the season goes on, I think they will improve with that, but at the same time, the game moves on very quickly.
It's a pretty hot day over in Perth last week. I think it was over 30 degrees. To what extent do we cut them some slack because of the fatigue factor?
I think it's relevant in terms of the preparation with the Tuesday game, Sunday, and also the heat. But I think more around just the composition of the team and the midfield as such, because that was the area that Freo were able to tweak some areas and really get on top through the midfield. It helps to have a dominant ruckman in Sandilands. I think that makes a difference. And then we just saw them, and what was a worry and really has been a huge loss is Paddy Ambrose, that they were able to take too many inside forward 50 marks. I think Tabiner, McCarthy and Kirsten were able to mark the ball too freely. So that's a real area that they can work on also.
I reckon if you were having a look at feedback from Essendon fans about what's frustrating you, disposal errors are probably number one on the list. Why is that happening so much, particularly coming out of defence?
Yeah, look, I think teams in general are trying to take the game on, and they're playing with more risk out of the back half because the rewards are so great. So it's pull the trigger, hit the corridor, which opens up the field to score, but at the same time, it opens up turnover and scores against as a result. I mean, you can play conservative, use the width of the ground and go wide and hug the boundary line, which won't see as many turnovers, but the opportunity to score diminishes as a result. So I think teams have seen that as a real way forward for them. But in that third quarter, you're quite right. There was a couple of key turnovers in the back half that really shifted momentum for Freo as they were building pressure.
Well, let's switch forward to this week, the big Country game against Geelong at the MCG. 3 changes coming in. Stewart for his debut. I think a lot of Essendon fans will be happy to see that. Joe Watson coming back, of course, and Andy McGrath, who's been an outstanding success. So the ends are pretty good, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Stewart for Francis seems that similar, the third tall.
Is he a bit stiff, Francis? Just like he's been in and out?
He's played a couple now. I would say yes in terms of a younger player that you want to get games into. But he's had moments in games that have been very good. He hasn't quite strung it together just yet, which he will.
Is he fit enough?
I think that's an area that he can work on, that he would acknowledge, I don't think naturally he has a big engine.
Yeah.
But as he works toward that and picks up his AFL fitness, that'll certainly improve. He's got a great pair of hands. I think he's got a very good footy IQ, so I expect him to be a player. But you also have to reward players that are playing well in the VFL, and James Stewart has been doing that. McGrath adds some speed into the back line, which is important, and then Jobe comes into that midfield group.
Let's talk about what's becoming a bit of a perennial question, the hooker. Yeah. Should he stay forward or should he go back? Because the defence, let's be honest, the defence has started to look a bit fragile in recent weeks.
Well, yeah, and we saw Hooker at times drift down to support as the 7th late in quarters last week. I like him up forward. I like the fact, I think Hurls has started to play his best footy. Having a chat with him, first couple of weeks, just took a bit to get the legs going, but his form's been very good.
Anzac Day was the turning point,
and his last 3 I think have been excellent.
Yeah,
so he's right in form. I think if Paddy Ambrose was a long term, you may look at it, but no, I'd leave him up forward, and I look at the way that the Geelong team is composed in their backline, that I think there's an opportunity if Hooker and Danaher can get some separation and some quick entries, that they can have a really good night against Geelong.
Obvious question against the Cats too, Dangerwood.
Yeah.
What do we do about Dangerwood?
I thought the template was showed by Nathan Buckley what you need to do. I think...
hard tag.
I think you look at Geelong, and it may be unfair, but I think if you can take... I don't think a team has 2 players that are more pivotal to the outcome of a game for a team than Geelong.
No, I agree.
So therefore, if you can take one out and just don't mind who it is, but really sit on one and make them have a difficult night, I think that's critical to the outcome of a game.
Yeah.
They need to do that.
Who's the most likely candidate, do you think, to do that?
It's not readily obvious.
They don't have an obvious
they
run
don't.
player, do they?
I think Heath Hocking 2 or 3 years ago was that player. Not in the team currently. Myers played last week. He's a big body, so he may be able to match at the stoppages a player like that. But
maybe not the endurance.
But in fairness to the boys at Geelong, Selwood and Dangerfield, they are so good that I don't think any team has a perfect matchup to go with them in all facets.
You know what I reckon they need to do? I reckon get Damien Peveril back on the list. He was a seriously good.
He was.
That's what you need, though.
You do.
2 guys.
Yeah, you do. I mean, Pev was a great and underrated player, but he had a huge engine and a great mindset, like a really tough mentality of never yielding. A bit like Cameron Ling. They just didn't care. They were able to focus on the detail of the task at hand and do it superbly well.
Well, 2 losses in a row, desperate for a win. It's a big game in the context of a season. Down, 3-4 now. Don't want to go down 3-5.
Well, you need to keep. You look at the teams in and around you. You need to keep even, don't you? That 50-50 win and loss, and then have a good run and get 2 or 3 in front of. But if you fall 2 behind with the teams around you, it makes it really difficult.
How are you enjoying your beer, mate?
Spot on. I love all the beers that the Colonial Brewing Company provide.
Good brands. The Social Beast is it's a bit different, bit of a craft beer, the Colonial Draft Kolsch Ale.
Yes, I enjoy the Kolsch Ale.
And seeing we are here for the Colonial Brewing Company, we should mention Beer versus Beast, Scotty, which is on Saturday. This Saturday you can get your tickets from 1 p.m. And of course the Colonial people will be at the country game on Saturday night too. So get some of that into you, Scotty. Good pre-game ritual that would have been for you back in your camper down.
Otherwise, each Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come on down here for a beer. It's a great venue.
It's a good drop. Hang around, Bomber fans, because we've got a very special guest coming up.
Look at Kevin Sheedy. I have never seen Sheedy like that, except for those premierships in the 80s.
I have him coaching footy size next season.
Well, their players are robots.
I was going to say, Sheed, that would be the next line. The players are robots.
It's the robots are now because they kick a goal and run off the ground now. But
would you have expected me to do that?
No. Scotty be looking the other way.